Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to do my 9 items that make me feel flawless. I recently saw a couple people do this. I believe it was originally started by Patty Alonso. Her information will be linked in the description box. And then I also saw like Allie Glines do this. I believe Mel Thompson did it. There were quite a few people who did this recently and I loved all of those videos. So I will try to link some other people's videos too. But I thought it was such a cute, fun idea and I love the idea of featuring the products that we use when we're really trying to look flawless and like look our best. So I picked out 9 items that I must have when I'm trying to like go all out and look my best. These are those 9 items and I figured that I would share them with you, so why don't we go ahead and get into it. Okay, as we get started, I've already primed my eyes and done my brows. While I do recommend doing those steps, I don't really have any holy grail products to recommend to you for the like flawless products kind of thing. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with my first flawless product because I like to do my eyeshadow first. I will link a video that I recently did here, like I think it was like 5 tips for wrinkles. I love all those tips and anytime that I want like flawless makeup, I definitely do those tips. So make sure you check that out. But I'm gonna go ahead and do my eyeshadow first. If you have seen my channel before, you've heard me talk about this product a ton. This is the Norvina palette from ABH. It's the small one before they did the big collaboration ones. And I really adore this palette. I love that you can get some warm tones in it, you get some cool tones in it, you get some fun pop colors in it. And it's just so, like, there's so much variety in this palette that I really appreciate. Today, what I'm feeling is I wanna play with the pink, this like passion shade, and then the rose gold shade a little bit. I haven't worn these tones in a while and I always start to pull for them in the winter time. So the closer we get to winter, I like to pull for mauves and pinks and like those kind of like softer shades that I would also kind of wear and carry into spring too. But so today that's what I'm gonna pull for. One thing I really love about Anastasia shades is that they are so like rich in pigment. Like all you have to do is barely tap into one of her matte shades and they are so pigmented. And I really enjoy the formula of her shadows. And then I love the newer palettes, like not the Modern Renaissance. The shimmer formula in it is not the same as this one, but this shimmer formula is so high impact and so high intensity that I really adore them. I'm just gonna continue to build up that matte shade. And again, I just really adore this palette for these like unexpected pops of color. Like this pink shade in the palette, I remember when I first got it, I was kind of intimidated by it, but on my eyes, it's so wearable and so pretty. So one thing I like to do is carry a little bit of my crease shade right here on the outer corner before I like deepen up my outer corner, just because it helps kind of blend this area right here. I sometimes, if I don't do this, I will forget to put eyeshadow right there. So I like to bring a little bit of my crease color down onto my lid. Also, it just helps me not to put too dark of a color on my outside corner too, when I already have something down first. Okay, next I'm taking the shade Passion and I'm gonna put it on my outer corner. And because these shades can be pretty pigmented, I try to work really light and really slow with them. Make sure that I'm kind of placing them when I want, and then I kind of like fluff upwards and outwards towards my crease. And I'm always surprised when I combine that pink and like that kind of reddish brown shade almost. They look like they wouldn't go well together in my head, but they really do. They go together so beautifully. Now I'm gonna take that rose gold shade and just use my finger and place it all over my lid. So as I'm putting this on, you'll be able to see like what I'm talking about with high intensity, because I barely touched the shade and I'll almost have enough to cover like my entire eyelid. And it's just so pretty. I'm gonna go ahead and do my other eyelid too. Just again, so high impact and so pretty. And then I'm gonna take my crease shade again and just make sure, well, I didn't add any product to it, but the same brush that I placed my crease shade down with, just kind of make sure that it all kind of looks seamless and blends together. And then I'm gonna put on some eyeliner. Okay, eyeshadow and eyeliner is done. I didn't really mention my eyeliner because it's not like a ride or die item for me. This is the tattoo liner from KVD Beauty. I like it, but mostly I put down eyeliner for my next thing, which is one of the products that make me feel absolutely flawless, and that is false lashes. I know not everybody's into a false lash. I tend to really enjoy it. I think that lashes can kind of really transform a look, and I really like the way they change my, like, they bring attention to my eyes in a better way. My eyes can be a bit downturned, they're a little bit deep set, and when I wear lashes, I feel like it just kind of helps me look a little bit more put together, a little bit more, honestly, a little younger, because you don't quite notice my under eye bags as much, which I think do age me because just genetically I have pretty severe dark under eyes. But the lashes I'm going to use today are these Ardell Wispy lashes. They're not the newest thing. I've worn them a couple times, so don't judge me too harsh, but they're a very natural lash, if you can tell. And I'm just going to use these because I'm wearing a more natural eyeshadow look, so I don't like to go too bold. If I'm wearing a bold look, I'll do bigger, heavier lashes, but when I'm wearing something a little bit more toned down, I like to keep the lash toned down too. So that's what I'm going to use today. And while I don't think I'm the best at putting on lashes, I did have someone recently ask me in the comment section to talk about putting on lashes a little bit. So what I'm going to mention are a couple things. I used the Duo lash adhesive. Now I used to use the one in a little tube. Let me see if I can find it. I just got done with a tube of this kind, and this one takes a little bit longer to dry down. Now I just opened up this guy, and this guy dries super fast. So tip number one would be to make sure you know the glue that you use and make sure you understand how quickly it dries. You want the glue to be tacky and dry down a little bit. For this Duo lash adhesive, I would sometimes have to wait about a minute if I put a little too much glue on. Whereas with this one, if I wait too long, it's going to be hard to put on and I have to pull it off and try again. So this lash adhesive is very different from the other one, even though they're made by the same people. So make sure you understand which lash adhesive works for you and how the dry down time is. And also, before I put on lashes, I should mention that when you pick out lashes, make sure that your band, at least in my preferences, are that the band has a little bit of structure to them. I've used some Duo or some Ardell Wispies before, or no, they were like the double up kinds, and the band didn't have enough structure and they were so hard to put on. And then some lashes, like the Anastasia Beverly Hills lashes, have a very, very stiff band, and they can also be a little bit of a pain in the butt to put on. So you want to kind of hit that sweet spot in the middle. You want a band lash, or a lash band with a little structure, but it's still flexible, if that makes sense. So these are not the easiest to put on because one, they've been worn a couple times, and two, they're a little bit on the flimsy side. But if I make sure that they have a good curl to them before I put my glue on, and then I put them on, I actually put them on with my fingers. I know some people use like tweezers. I put them on with my fingers, and I just have to work slow, work one eye at a time. I definitely recommend that over trying to put glue on both lashes and then hurrying and trying to put them on. So I'm gonna try to do this on camera. Wish me luck. So one nice thing about this like Duo glue is that it does dry fast, which did give me a little bit of a learning curve, but I do like the like brush on adhesive here. It's way easier to apply, and I find that I don't over apply lash glue, which is part of the reason why it dries faster than the other one. The squeezy tube, sometimes I would deposit way too much glue onto a lash band. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this on camera. I am not the best because normally I have two free hands to do this with, but I like to try to sit it down mostly towards the middle and outer part of my lash, and then I'll go in with my fingers and put down the front of it. And the front of it's always the hardest part for me. And I'll sometimes just go in and hold it down with my finger up here until the glue makes sure that it sticks. And then once I know that it's sticking, I'll kind of give my finger a little like bump up to like lift the lash up a little bit, but it's always really tricky on my inner part of my lashes. So hopefully you can see a little bit, it's sticking just fine. And what I've done is, again, you can see that it's sitting on top of that black eyeliner. So the cushion I give myself is that sometimes when I don't always put it down in exactly the right spot, then that black eyeliner will kind of help hide the fact that maybe I missed a little bit or where the like perfect placement would have been. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this other lash on the other eye. One of my eyes, and I can't remember which one it is, one of my eyes is way easier to put lashes on than the other. So you may experience that too, that like one eye is a good eye and one eye is just a pain in the butt to put lashes on. And with the way this lash is going on, I'm thinking that it's my left eye that's easier to put lashes on, and my right eye is the one that is a pain in the butt. Although this inner corner is a little bit also not wanting to stick. Okay, lashes are on. It may not look the best in my inner corner, mostly because when you use a lash over and over, the lash glue will eventually kind of build up in the lashes, and then even though you try to like pick it out, sometimes it will, mine end up gumming up in the inner corner the most, and the lashes on the outside tend to stay better longer. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here, is probably this pair is about done, but I like to use them until I really can't anymore. So I just think that lashes really transform a look. Again, these are not bold or big lashes. They're super wearable, and once you get them on, you barely feel them at all. So I really like that about these like Ardell Wispy lashes. And if you're ever thinking about trying lashes or getting into them, I definitely think you should start with something like this before jumping into like those big bold lashes or the chunkier ones. These are so much easier to wear, and like they won't bother your eyes because they are so much smaller of a lash than compared to other brands that are out there. Okay, I'm gonna sit back a little bit for the third item. For the third item, I'm gonna mention a pore minimizing primer. This is the one in my collection that I have that is the best right now, but there is, L'Oreal makes one in a little pot. It's like is it the Magic Perfecting Base or something like that? And it's really good. It's probably better than this one, but this is the Smashbox Pore Minimizing Photo Finish Primer. I quite like this one, but I do think the L'Oreal one probably provides a little bit more pore minimizing. Now, I have to do a pore minimizer most of the time because I do have pretty prominent pores right here and a little bit right here from sun damage. So I do like to make sure that I put this on. But one thing I like to do is not to put it on until right before I put my makeup on. I don't like for it to sit on my face too long, mostly because when I was doing my eyeshadow, you probably saw me squinting my forehead a lot and making lots of weird facial contortions. And I find that if I put those like thicker primers on too early, then they settle into my wrinkles. So I try to make sure that they're put on right before I go in with like my base and foundation products. But I do really like the feel of this primer. It feels very nice and like very slick silicone kind of thing. I really like that. Also, I should mention that primer wise, I always put on like a lotion or a very moisturizing primer before I do anything to my face, before I do eyeshadow or anything. I like to make sure that it's properly moisturized as I sit down to do my makeup. Okay, so now to recap, we had the eyeshadow palette, the eyelashes, the pore minimizing primer, and for our fourth product, I'm talking about Tarte Shape Tape. I love Tarte Shape Tape for spot concealing and for correcting my under eyes. It's the most full coverage concealer I've ever tried, and I really sometimes need that. So I have a little bit of like sun damage that I like to correct up here with this guy, and then I like to do a little dot here. My nose is notorious for rejecting foundation and not wanting foundation to stick. So I like to go ahead and just do a little spot concealing around my face with a very high coverage concealer, and then I just use a brush to kind of blend that out, and then I'll go over the top with my foundation. And as you can see, I don't really use a ton, but it really does kind of help even out my skin tone. And then that way I'm able to use less foundation too. And I have like some pretty bad breakouts over here, and so I leave those a little bit, like I leave the concealer a little bit darker on top of those. And then again, I try to keep whatever foundation decides to stick on my nose that day, try to keep it on there, try not to blend it away too much. I have some redness around the bottom of my nose that I like to correct. And I'm kind of thinking about looking for a concealer brush that's a little bit smaller than this guy. This is technically a foundation brush, but I want something to get up in my corners just a little bit better, and I don't really have anything. So if you have any concealer brush recommendations, let me know, because it's working, it's okay, but it's just not ideal for what I want to be able to get up into like these really deep corners of my eyes up here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and apply some foundation to my face. This is not one of the like products that make me feel flawless. I feel like I'm one of maybe the few people out there who are still trying to find their like perfect foundation. I haven't quite found it. I want something, I don't know, that feels lightweight but still provides a good amount of coverage, probably at least a medium coverage, but I don't know if I prefer full coverage, if that makes sense. So if you have recommendations for me, I have a ton of foundation that I need to work through in my collection, so it'll probably be a while. But if I keep seeing the same thing over and over again and hearing people like talk about their favorite foundation over and over again, then perhaps it will eventually convince me to go try it in the future once I work through like the 20-something foundations that I have, which is ridiculous. So once my foundation is on, I will go through and like spot correct anything that I missed. And I think so far, the only thing I really want to do is just try to brighten up my under eyes just a little bit. Like I said, I have very dark under eyes just genetically. So anytime I do this though, the next time I put product on my under eyes, I will use a sponge because I don't want it to look too thick or cakey under there. I want it to try to stay as natural as I can look. Maybe not natural, maybe natural is not the word, because it's clear that I'm wearing foundation, but I don't want it to look cakey, if that makes sense. Okay, the next product that I'm gonna use, technically I didn't really count this in my flawless products because I don't really know this product very well yet. I just finished up a couple of powders that I've been working on in Your Lawn Project pans, and I don't really have any new powders that have like wowed me. The best powders I've ever used up are the Coty Airspun and the Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder. I really like both of those, and I'm finally able to use this guy now that I'm finished with some of my other powders that I was trying to pan this year. So hopefully over the 2021 I'll be able to formulate an opinion. I think I've used this peach powder from Too Faced less than 5 times total, so I'm excited to get to know this powder. I've heard really good things about it and I have high hopes and expectations for it, but I'm trying to make sure that I give myself plenty of time to use it it before I like jump to a conclusion about how I feel about it. However, I will say that powder is an absolute must for me. I cannot skip this step. So powdering is really, really important. Okay, my fifth product that makes me feel flawless is coming from this little Z palette here. This is a Hoola bronzer. It's like one of the mini deluxe size shade sizes. And I'm gonna use like this big old fluffy brush. I really, really, really enjoy this bronzer for specifically like winter time. I think it's such a like neutral toned good shade that it works year round, but I specifically really enjoy it in the wintertime, because in the wintertime I really get pretty pale and I can look, some of my bronzers that I have in my collection can make me look way too kind of orange leaning, or they can be way too warm, but this one I find gives me a good amount of color. It's not too red, it's not too orange, it's like this perfect bronzer shade, and it also blends really well. So I really enjoy this bronzer. I wish it was kind of overhyped because it is more expensive, but then again, when I've seen people try to pan this bronzer, it lasts a good bit of time. Okay, before I forget, I am gonna take that Love shade and run it underneath my lash line, because I constantly forget to put eyeshadow underneath my lash line and then also to put mascara on, especially when I'm wearing lashes. I'm like, ooh, I like my look so much, and then I forget to put any like the finishing touches on. So before I forget, I'm gonna do that now. Now to blend my lashes, I barely like to touch my lashes to my real lashes to my fake lashes, because I don't want to make my fake lashes like too cruddy and like then have to throw them away even sooner. So I try to just barely touch them together, and I just try to make sure mainly that you don't see my lashes, like they're not jet black naturally, so I just try to make sure they don't look like you can't see them next to the other lashes. But I don't worry too much about blending them in. As long as the lashes are placed right, I find that they sit fine and I don't have to like cover my own lashes in mascara. Okay, so let's talk about these 6 products that I need to feel flawless, and that is highlight. It needs to be highlight. I need highlight on my face. Now, if I have a warm tone look, more warm tone than this, I will typically go with, my favorite is Champagne Pop by Becca. I just love that on my skin tone. Whenever I wear that highlight, I am always checking myself out in the mirror, but when I wear like more neutrally cool tone looks, I like this one here. This one is new to me this year. I got it earlier this year. Maybe, I think it was like summertime. This is the Mary Luminizer. It is a beautiful highlight. People hype it up for a good reason here. So this is one that when I struggle not knowing what shade I want to wear of highlight, this is typically one I will reach for, because it's just really beautiful. And it can be more natural looking, or if you don't build it up like I am, but also I think that it's super blinding and beautiful. So I like to glow a little bit, so I will go ahead and build it up a good bit. But I do like to put my highlight down first and then put my blush on in case I go a little too overboard with my highlight. So that brings me to my 7th product. I love L'Oreal blushes, and this is a little blush palette that I found at Ross a couple years ago. But just in general, I think these like baked blushes with these little bit of like, not shimmer, not glitter in them, but like shimmer to them, they give your cheeks such beautiful life. I'm gonna go in the shade Honeysuckle today. It's definitely a more bronzy leaning shade with just a hint of pink in it. And I like to place my blush up here higher on my cheek at first. I'm a little bit older and my face shape is a little tricky to work with. So blush placement wise, if you smile and you like see the apples of your cheeks right here, some people want to go right in, but when you like relax your face and you aren't smiling, it droops your cheek down. So I like to like kind of work back here, and then I will work up towards here. Make sure not to drag it down, not to keep like a straight line down, but to kind of bring it in like that, if that makes sense. And I also like to keep the shade up here towards my back of my cheek more brown, and then I'll go in with like a pinkier shade or something in the front of my cheek, but I'll keep it, like I said, higher on my cheekbones, and make sure that it's a little bit more rosy to give you that kind of blushing look, that little pink flush to your face. Another thing that I like to do here is make sure I blend and I just circulate more circular motions and work that color back towards that bronze shade that I kind of put on. And I find that that blush placement has really been working well for me, honestly, because I do like to use such like a white or light shade under my eyes that sometimes this can look really stark, and that sometimes can emphasize the fact that I have dark circles. So I find that if I bring my blush up versus down or continue in a straight line, then it helps me not look so old, because again, my cheeks aren't drooping, but they have a little life, they have a little glow to them. It's just a really pretty sheen and it looks healthy, which I really enjoy. Okay, and for the final touches, I have two products that help me feel flawless. One is a lip liner. I always love to wear lip liners, especially when the color starts to wear off my lips at the end of the day. I find that the lip liner tends to stay on the longest, and it gives my lips just a little bit of shape that I feel like I need. So this guy here, I love the Buxom liners in general. If I'm wearing a warm tone look, I will go with Buxom Hush Hush. This one is Dolly Danger, and then gloss wise, I have the shade Dolly, and if I'm again going for a warm tone look, I will use Hot Toddy. Those are my go-to. Like, this is more cool tone for me, the other one is more warm tone, and they are the perfect lip combos for me. I love them so much, so I have to mention those. So let me go ahead and stop chatting and put this on. I probably should have exfoliated my lips today, but I didn't. And I do like to kind of fill my lips in a little bit, and then I'll just take my finger and make sure I drag that color anywhere, although it does literally have a side with a brush, but I never remember to use that. And I just really love that shade so much. Now I'm gonna go in with Dolly. Again, just such a beautiful topping shade. Not to mention that I love the tingle little, the slight tingle you get with these lip glosses. They're so nice. Okay, this is the finished look. So this is kind of what I would use if I wanted to feel flawless. I hope you enjoyed seeing these 9 different items. I know I used more than 9 items, but featuring these 9 items. Make sure in the comments you let me know what you like to include in your flawless face. I'd be really interested to know. I love hearing what people's favorites are because people can be so different person to person. It's pretty interesting. Also, if you didn't manage to see it, do go check out Patty's video. That is again linked down below. And that's it for today's video. Make sure you say hello, and I will see you in the next one.